Hey everyone, Jessica Shire here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm up on the Art Impressions blog with a fun card using the Pumpkin Mice flip card. And I used the stamp set and the die. The die is sold separately. The back of the packaging does have the directions on how to make these without the die and with the die, which is kind of cool. But these flip cards are really easy to make, and I went ahead and I used a piece of Neenah 80-pound cardstock for this one. I also have a piece of Neenah 110-pound cardstock for the card base that I went ahead and used the die and made my flip card base, following the directions on the back of the packaging. For this one, I used an 80-pound because I'm going to be stamping and coloring on it. And like I've said before, I do like to use the Neenah 80-pound cardstock for Copic Coloring. To me, it just is a little easier. It doesn't soak up as much ink. So I'm going to go ahead and use my stamp platform and some Gina Cam Amalgam ink to stamp the little mice. This is the front-facing mice. So in the set, you get the front-facing and the back-facing. And I'm just going to stamp that a few times. I do go ahead and do the same thing with that other piece of cardstock that you saw before, the top part. That's the inside panel, and I just use the same ink and everything to stamp the back-facing mice. For my coloring, I'm going to be using Copics, like I said, and I'm going to color all of the mice like a gray color. So what I normally use for my grays is warm gray. I really like the warm gray tone. So I shade with all of the darker areas. So I use my W6 marker in all of those shadowy areas, and then I'm going to blend that out with a W3. Now for the pumpkins, I'm going to use R05, Y38, and Y35. This color combination, the R05, the Y38, and the Y35, have been my favorite. I have used them on almost every single pumpkin that I have colored. I think it's just a nice color combination. So I'm going to do that to all of the pumpkins using those same 3 markers. So I colored all of the pumpkins plus their little tops, and then I'm going to use the Y38 for the inside of their mouth and their eyes. I kind of wish I would have went a little bit darker of an orange color, maybe brought in a different color or layered it with a gray tone marker or something, but I don't mind that kind of a subtle contrast. I used the YG63 on their stems of the for the pumpkin tops, and then all of the mice, I'm going to color their hats, their witches' hats, purple. So I have the V09 and I bring in a V06 too. So since the mice had these witchy hats, that's kind of where the inspiration for the sentiment. For my ground level, I just use a couple more of the darker YG green colors. So I have a YG67, YG63, and a YG01 for a really bright color. And I just go back and forth with those 3 markers again on that bottom area. And it's nothing fancy, but I kind of like this sketchy ground. Since the mice have their witches' hats, I thought that they would be really cool to have them like doing a spell. So there was magic coming up from their little paws. So I'm going to create this like sketchy magical cloud. Unfortunately, this did stop recording. My memory card was full. I didn't realize. I basically drew out like a cloud with those same markers, just doing little dots and little scribbles. And then I went back through with the V06 marker and a Y13 marker just to add a bit of yellow to that cloud. It kind of evolved to become this rectangle cloud shape. I did stamp the entire image of the back side of the mice, but I decided I wanted to do some masking. So instead of recutting everything, flip that cardstock over and I'm going to stamp on the other side. And to mask, I'm just going to use some purple tape. This is the 1/2 inch size. I just grab a few pieces of it. I'm going to piece it together over the top of the mice. And then I can go ahead and ink up my stamp there. being aware not to ink above where the purple tape is. It's okay if the ink gets on the purple tape, because once I have it inked up pretty well, I'm going to remove that purple tape and then stamp down my image. And that just leaves you with a row of pumpkins without any mice in it. So it's like they vanished, which I thought was really funny. So I grab a micron pen, and this is like a 0.05. It's a really fine tip. And I just go ahead and draw in the little pieces of the little areas of the pumpkin that didn't get stamped because of that purple tape. And then I'm going to color these the exact same way that I colored the front. And then I'm going to use the same markers for that ground level too. So I have my little Tonic trimmer out. I'm going to quickly chop off some of the ends to get everything straight. I wanted these just to be about a 1/4 inch smaller than the actual card base. So I went ahead and I layered those onto my flip card base that I had cut out earlier. So for my sentiment, where the magical cloud is, I decided to use some Brutus Monroe embossing ink and clear. And I'm going to stamp that sentiment onto that cloud. And then I'm going to use some Gilded embossing powder over the top to where it gives it that shine and shimmer. And then I'm going to use the Happy Halloween sentiment, also in the same stamp set. And then stamping with that clear ink and pouring that Gilded embossing powder over the top. While I'm doing this, I'm letting my Wagner heat gun heat up really well. That way it's pretty quick to emboss and it doesn't warp that flip card part. And that is it for this card. It is super simple, but I think having those little mice vanish using a very easy and quick masking was pretty fun for this card. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not already. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Meh, meh.